Good morning. How's everybody doing out there? I'm so excited to have you guys with me today. Um, I'm also really excited to clean my studio. It's just getting organized. Um, how's everybody doing? I just moved my studio from one part of this building to another, so everything is a little just up in the air. Do you know that feeling when you're first settling into a new space? It's exciting because I love my new workspace, but if you look in the background of this particular space, it looks really messy. It's not that messy, it's just falling into place. So my name is Crispina French, and I'm a die-hard textile recycling artist and environmental activist and empowerer and creativity coach. So I'm really excited to be here with you today. This is day number 4 in my 30-day series of Live at 11 right here on Facebook. It's also on YouTube, and I'm working on making this all happen also on Instagram. So I'm not there yet with the technology because it's all a big learning curve for me. But I'm getting there. So, how's everybody doing out there? Where are you guys from? Where are you right now? My studio is in Beckett, Massachusetts, and I love where I work, and I also actually live just down the road. So my morning commute consists of walking about, I don't know, I'm a really bad judge of distance, but maybe it's 500 yards up a steep hill on a dirt road in this beautiful little town. So I feel very blessed. Today we're going to start talking about the making process involved with my Ragamuffins. So I introduced these guys a little bit yesterday. This was my very first product, and there was a bunch of different styles. This is just the one style that I started with. I call him, her, they. um, Carolyn is good as hell. Me too, man. Baby, how you feeling? I'm good as hell. Does anybody know that song, Lizzo? Lizzo is one of my favorites, okay? Check her out. Good as hell. Look up that song. Jan, how are you, my friend? I'm so glad that you popped in today. So today we're going to talk about these little guys. These are Ragamuffins. I started making these back in 1987, and they are completely hand sewn. There's no machine sewing involved at all, and they're all made out of recycled sweaters. So the first piece we're going to start with are the legs. So there's 4 legs on the style, and they're cut from sweaters. So, whoops, sorry. So here is a sweater, and you can see I cut off the sleeve, and this is what the sleeve looked like before. And here are the 2 pieces that I cut off. So I have the cuff, and then I have this kind of just piece of the sleeve. So it's a tube, and it's got a seam in the bottom here, and the cuff gets used for this light blue piece here is the cuff. So we'll get to that in a couple of days. But and actually, Ragamuffins are not the easiest thing to start with, but Ragamuffin legs are pretty easy, and I'm going to show you that technique. So this piece you can see is a little, and most sweaters are like this, it's a little wider at the bottom and narrower at the top, and it might be kind of hard to establish that on the video, but I'm going to stretch the narrower side out so that it becomes more of a real kind of rectangular shape without the curved smaller side. And I moved the seam so it's here in the middle instead of at the bottom, and that's kind of important. I'm just going to stretch that a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to start by rolling this toward the seam side. So the side that's going to be on the outside of your roll is going to be without the seam. And it's much easier to do this if you're holding it on a table surface and using that to kind of roll it. So I'm going to do that here while I'm talking to you, and then I'll hold it up and show you what I've got. So this is my roll. Okay, cool. Now, as usual, when I'm teaching somebody, I forget that I gotta thread the needle because I've only got 2 hands. Wouldn't it be cool if we had an extra hand? Okay, so these are sewn with yarn and really fat needles. So this is a really long yarn darner. It's I sell these in my shop, and it's at crispina.com. And I'm just going to put that in here. If anybody needs to find needles, I sell them in packs of 5, and they're really nice. They have a very large eye, so it's pretty easy to thread it. There, you can see it. And then they're super sharp and pointy, so it's easy to poke through lots of layers. So there's 2 different kinds of yarn that I use. This is called a tapestry yarn, and I use wool. I like wool. I kind of have a crush on wool. You can use acrylic. You can use whatever kind of yarn you got kicking around, as long as it's kind of strong and you can sew with it without breaking it. That's the most important part. So, I mean, you could use embroidery floss, although this is a little heavier, thicker than embroidery floss, so it gives a little bit more of a colorful accent. You can see, you know, on the legs, it kind of does play a role in the aesthetic of the finished thing. So the tapestry yarn is one kind, and then I also use this Persian wool, and the Persian wool is nice and strong, a little stronger than the tapestry yarn, and it comes with 3 ends. So it's sort of like embroidery floss in that you can separate it by the ends if you want to. For ragamuffin making, you really need to use all 3 ends, because you're going to be creating a fair amount of tension on your yarn, so you definitely want to use the whole weight of it. So I'm going to pull off a piece of yarn that is, I'm going to say, 4.5 feet long. Maybe 4 feet is good. Okay, and then I'm just going to thread my needle, and that's probably the hardest part for most people. It's actually, there's a little trick to it, which I have a little video, but I'll show you right now too. So you cut it off nice and sharp across the top, like blunt, with a nice sharp pair of scissors. And then you take your needle and you pull your yarn down, so it's like really just in between your fingers, and you can barely see it on the top of your fingers. See, it's right there. And then I'm going to take the whole of my needle and just kind of work it across the top of that yarn, and it comes right through. It takes practice. I've been doing this for a really long time, and don't get frustrated. Just keep trying until you get it. Okay, so back to the roll here. Okay. Embrace the roll. There was a joke going on in my membership group last time we met about embracing the roll. Oh, Joanne, you lost me. What do you mean? Am I back? Can you guys hear me okay? The one thing about this beautiful rural place I live is that our connectivity is shaky at best. So somebody type in the comments and let me know if you guys are able to hear me and see me. I don't want to get going too far ahead if there's problems with connectivity. I'm just going to put a comment. Okay. Hello, hello. Huh. Are you guys, Okay, cool. Carolyn, you're saving my day, girl. Okay, so yes, we're gonna back to this roll, okay? I pinned it just to hold it together. Lizanne, thank you. So we're gonna take the top, here's the roll, and I'm gonna put my needle right here. Okay, and I'm gonna poke it through those 2 layers. Okay, and I'm gonna pull it through. And that way that knot is gonna get tucked right inside there. Okay? And then I'm going to roll the yarn around let me reword that. I'm going to wrap the yarn around the roll. Okay? So do you see how that is? So it's just like this. Here's my knot. I'm going to wrap around about a 1/2 inch from the top. Then I'm going to poke my needle through. I'm going to go beyond the fold, beyond the cut edge, and I'm going to poke my needle through. Here, I'll show you. So here's my cut edge. The needle goes in just beyond the cut edge, and it comes back out just above the cut edge. And then I'm going to pull that through. I think I can make these in my sleep, you guys, because I've made so many ragamuffin legs. Holy moly. Okay, so then I'm going to wrap it again, and this time I'm going to move a little distance. So the first stitch is kind of like in almost the same place where you started. This pin is kind of holding that yarn. Okay, so the second stitch I'm going to do with a little bit of a step to it. So then I'm going to do the same stitch. I'm going to go past the cut edge and come out above the cut edge, and there that is. So okay, so there's my needle, and I'm almost going like straight through the middle of the layers. So one thing that I've developed over the many years that I've been making ragamuffins is really strong muscles in my fingers and hands. If this is really hard for you when you start doing this yourself, try if you're having trouble pulling the needle through, you want to pull the needle in the direction that you're sewing always, not in a different weird direction. And then also sometimes a little handheld pair of pliers is handy to have. I like the ones that spring open because you can just put them on the table and grab them as you need, and then just use those to pull your needle through. Okay, so there's that stitch, and you're just going to keep moving. One of the things that I'm just going to remove that pin. Okay, so then we're going to wrap again and stitch again. And so do you see how the end is like uneven? Like this is the fold on the top, and then it sort of sticks out. So I'm going to just kind of wiggle that back in there so it comes out nice and flush at the end. Okay, so that's how it's going to look at the end. I'm going to wrap again and stitch away. I wrap toward me and stitch away from myself. I'm going to do, I think, one more, maybe two more. See how that's coming out? It does not matter if they're not evenly placed. Part of the kind of je ne sais quoi about the ragamuffins is that they're all kind of haphazard and scrappy. Okay, so we're down to the bottom. Okay, and then we're going to wrap towards you all the way back up without taking stitches. You're going to pull it pretty snug, pretty tight. Okay, all the way back up to the top where you started, and then I just take my needle and I stitch straight through the middle like that. So here's my cut edge on the back, so I'm going, my needle's kind of going in near the cut edge and coming out straight across from the cut edge. And then I just pull it tight like that. Leave the tail, because you can use that to sew that onto the ragamuffin later. Okay, and then ragamuffins have toes, you know. We're going to take a pair of scissors, and it's nice to have a nice sharp pair of scissors for this, and I'm going to snip this bottom, whoops, there we go, this outside layer that's got a fold in it. I'm going to snip that into 5 toes. So I'm going to try to do this while you can see what I'm doing. It's a little tricky with the camera here. Let's see if I... Okay, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there we go. So do you see how the outside layer is cut and the inside layer is just kind of like inside there? So now what we're going to do is hold the toes up in the air, and you have this little kind of wad of fabric in there, and you're just going to cut that off. Let's see. There. So now that's the kind of like almost like the palm of the ragamuffin with the little toes sticking out from it. And then it's like, it's so funny, the angle of the camera. Okay, so there's my leg. Okay, there's my ragamuffin leg. And if you're, you know, if you're a super accomplished ragamuffin leg maker, you can get them to stand up on their own. Does anybody have any questions about the ragamuffin legs? they're so what I do, and actually this is a really good way for you guys to get started if you want to make a stuffed toy for someone in your life or for yourself. Make a bunch of these, get a couple sweaters. You can use sweatshirts, you can use fleece, whatever. It does not have to be wool. I am a total brat when it comes to fiber content. I really like natural fiber. It's a little easier to sew through wool or cashmere or like alpaca than it is to sew through a denim, or denim doesn't work that well because it's not, it doesn't have as much kind of sponginess to it, but fleece would work well. Sweatshirts would work well. It's a little harder to sew through those materials, so you'll definitely need a small pair of pliers to pull a needle through. But this is the introduction to making ragamuffins. And if you are interested, I have got all these ideas for this fall, and I'm looking forward, and I'm thinking that the pandemic is really not going anywhere, you guys. I mean, I'm in Massachusetts, so we were really kind of freaked out by it when we were when New York City was getting like really ravaged by it. Because in my town, more than 50% of the homes are second homes for people who live in New York City most of the time. So when we were when New York City was experiencing the ravaging of the coronavirus, we were all really freaked out. And now it seems to be like we got good at like being really quarantined and super careful with social distancing and wearing masks and all that sort of thing. And it seems as though now, like the west and the southern part of the country that didn't really have that initial closeness to their proximity are suffering the worst. And I'm so sorry for anyone who's affected by that right now. I mean, we all are affected by it, but anyone who's like got family members or loved ones who are dealing with the ailment itself, I send my love to them. But I don't feel like we're going to be back in any kind of normal situation for a while. So I'm dreaming up all of these fun and connected ways that we can stay creative this fall and winter. So if you guys are interested in doing a full-on ragamuffin making intensive this fall with me, go over to my website, go to crispina.com and pop your name on my email list. And I cannot wait to get you started on something that's really gonna bring you some joy and lift your spirits and build your confidence and just let that fear and stress and anxiety really melt away. One of the things I just love about using my hands to create is that it allows for almost like a meditative mindset just to really alleviate the stress and anxiety that we can find ourselves dealing with if we're not really careful. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to get with you this fall. And if you're interested in ragamuffins, pop on my email list. I'll be sending out an email in the next few days just to kind of help you. I don't like to send everybody all the emails, so it'll just be an email that will help me establish like, okay, you're interested in making ragamuffins and you want to do potholder rugs, and oh my gosh, you're interested in the stitch along, and you over here, you're interested in the new product I'm making for fall and winter. So you won't get inundated. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your morning with me. And I hope that you have a really beautiful Thursday. And I'll be back tomorrow with some more fun stuff to learn. I think tomorrow we're going to take a look, well, depending on a couple things. I'm waiting for a delivery from my FedEx guy. But I have some pretty exciting work I've been putting together. And I think it might be kind of fun to do a little preview of that. If not tomorrow, it'll certainly be within the next few days. So I'll talk to you then. And if you have any questions or you want any help or insight or whatever, leave me a comment. I'm happy to respond. And there's one other category that I kind of forgot to mention today, which is if you're interested in building a business using your creativity, that is another thing that I'm working on putting together for a little kind of mini series of classes that I can help you get started with. So I look forward to connecting with you on my email list, and have a great Thursday.